All right, good morning. Welcome in. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Your headsets may have been a little too loud there. We're streaming on the zone1059.com. We are live in the BankPlus studio. The Twitter handle at BowBounds, brought to you by favorites.com. Number 601-707-3750. I got the number right. We've had to go back and forth on that like 30 times over the course of the fall with remotes. But it is 707-3750. The show is brought to you by Rick's Pro Truck, RPT, and their fuel off-road wheels and Pro Coat spray and bedliners. RPT, Rick's Pro Truck, I-55 South, Lakeland Drive, Flowwood. And we have our friend and host of how many shows now?
Two.
But then you're doing the new, let me just say Jake Wimberly with ESPN 105.9 The Zone in the BankPlus studio. The Drive at 5.
Yeah.
The Game Day show. And now you're doing the Periscope show.
Yeah, well, that's the Drive After Dark Thursday nights.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. I caught some of that last week.
Yeah, it's just more of a sit down, kind of like you're sitting at your bar over there.
Yeah.
Or
which we may have to do.
I like that. I like that idea.
We should have done the show from the bar after the performances from MSU and Ole Miss.
That would have been huge. Because
during, you should have done during the performances.
Well, welcome in, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate you.
Good
having
morning.
Me. Hey, good to see you guys.
Drew Jackson, good morning. Drew in Nashville, Jackson in Starkville. I went to Starkville. I will say this. I put it up on Instagram. Some friends of mine had a tailgate, and they cooked a whole pig.
Ooh.
That's always
They
good.
did the 110-pound pig from Little Dewey's with the apple or whatever it is.
Oh,
in it.
yeah.
And so this dude, I mean, seriously, I'm watching this and all these, they bring it in. I mean, they had to have, 3 people bring it in. And they set it down on this big table. And I've been around them before, but I haven't seen the whole production. And so they sit it down on the table, and this dude comes up and just pulls the paw or hand or whatever off of the pig and eats it.
Oh.
I'm like, that's hardcore right there.
That
dude.
is.
I'm going to wait, until they get into the good pulled pork. I'm not just going to take the, hand and just.
That's probably a guy that likes those pickles pig feet. Remember that you used to see in those old town stores? Yeah.
How do you do that? And he looked like he was sober. I mean, this was like a 50-year-old man. He was wearing a nice shirt and some slacks, and I was going, anyway, maybe that was a precursor for what was going to happen later. Okay, so I'm going to be the first one to acknowledge that I picked Arkansas to win, but I didn't know that Arkansas would dominate the game. And then I picked Ole Miss to win, and if they lost, I never thought that they would be blown out. So I didn't see either game unfolding the way it did.
I didn't either. I actually picked State, and I picked because they were at home. I figured, last chance, this is it. I mean, it's guts or glory time, so to speak.
Sure.
I figured they would have played offensively. They played good enough to win. Defensively, obviously, they didn't show up. And I was like you. I didn't think Ole Miss would lose the game, and I sure didn't think that they would have,
get dominated in the second half.
Right.
So neither, I had it 38-35, which meant I thought Mississippi State could win the game against Arkansas. When you and I or any of us pick a game and it's one possession, that means we think either team can win.
Right.
And I knew that Arkansas could run it and throw it, but I had no idea that the MSU defense was not going to be able to set the edge ever. Okay. I mean, there's high school teams that can set the edge, right? I mean, am I missing something here?
Mm-mm.
And then this tackling deal is evidently foreign in Starkville. And so I guess it's easy for us to do this now that we're 11 games in. And we all know that, all right? It's easy for us to play Monday morning QB, but it's what Jake and I get paid to do. So we're going to do it. When you hire Peter, people are banging on Peter Sermon or Sermon. I don't even know, but I'm going to say, is it Sermon or Sermon?
Sermon.
I say Sermon.
I say Sermon. All right. I mean, we've had him on the show. I'm pretty sure I said Peter Sermon. But when you hire a guy with no DC experience and then you hire 3 more defensive assistants and they've never coached together, and then you also change schemes, you would think that's a recipe for disaster or for a challenge, and it was.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. It is. And not only that, is when the guys are in position to make plays, they're not making plays. And it's
Right.
Starkville. You know, when you got a guy, if you look at that first touchdown that Raleigh Williams III ripped off second play of the game,
Yes.
there was guys in position to make that tackle. They just didn't make the tackle. And we've seen that in the secondary too. Excuse me, that there's guys in position to make plays. They just don't make plays. So when you have guys that don't make plays on top of a new staff, total defensively a new staff, it's just a bad recipe, and we're seeing that right now.
It's on Dan Mullen. Yeah, I mean, that's Dan Mullen hired a guy with no experience defensive coordinator-wise to coach in the SEC West in a year when you knew it was a transition year too. Losing Chris Jones was a big deal. Beniquez Brown, and there was a defensive end. Was it Ryan Brown? That may have been the year before. It was somebody else. And you didn't have Will Redmond the last 5-6 games of the year last year anyway. He was a big loss. So, that's what you're looking at there as far as on the defensive side of the football. Special teams, they may be some of the worst special teams play in college football.
Yeah, Dan Mullen has never, had a great special teams unit.
No.
I mean, when you look at it, if you look at his punt returning units and his kickoff return units, very rarely do they make explosive plays, as they call it, that 20, 30-yard pop.
Right.
But this year it's just seemed to be worse. And Weston Graves, he continues to, at first he was missing field goals by just a bit.
Right.
Now he's missing field goals way left, way right. So you've got to think something's going on, psychologically with that guy. Not sure what's going on special teams with Mississippi State, but when you add that plus the defense, it really negates what has become a fairly nice offense. It's productive.
Fitz, let's just say it. Fitz has played great. If you take everything, he's played great. 470 total yards or something against Arkansas.
6 touchdowns. He accounted for 6
It
touchdowns.
ain't bragging if you can back it up.
Can you imagine if he'd have played against South Alabama? Throw in another 300?
That would have changed. Well, obviously, they would have won the football game.
Right.
And then that would have it could have changed the dynamic to some degree of this team.
Right. They still wouldn't have been good,
Right.
but they may already be bowl eligible.
Yeah, very well could.
Or playing for bowl eligibility going into this weekend, which Ole Miss is playing for bowl eligibility and Mississippi State is not. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Ole Miss Vanderbilt game. It was Shea. We called him Shagermeister, among other things.
Yeah, I like that.
But it was Shea mania all week last week, and I couldn't go anywhere. I don't know about you. I mean, whether it was my kids' functions or whatever, Ole Miss fans had labeled this guy the next Drew Brees / Aaron Rodgers / Tom Brady. He had a nice ball game, but he was exposed as far as running out of the pocket. Leaving the pocket too early, and he wasn't helped with their wide receiver play. But the bottom line is, they got after him. Derek Mason dialed up some great schemes against those 7 super wide receivers, and then Shermer actually looked like a good QB.
Yeah, he did.
And he's not.
No, he's not. He's not at all. As a matter of fact, he completed right around 57% of his passes. He did just enough. 273 yards against Ole Miss.
Right.
That's another thing, if you talk to Ole Miss fans, is Dave Womack safe? Because now their defense, they're not Mississippi State bad.
No.
But they're not good either.
Whew.
I mean, they're not a good defense. That's what's crazy is you look at the Egg Bowl, and I know we'll both get into this throughout the week, but a lot of people will probably look at that and say, last team with last possession wins, and that may be true, but then again, it's the Egg Bowl. It wouldn't shock me if both defenses actually decide to play a little football on Saturday.
Sure. Yeah, I think trying to say it's automatically going to be a 56-50 game is, I think, a little bit of a stretch just because of what we saw last weekend. I think that's proof that doesn't necessarily week to week, we don't know what we're going to get from either unit. All right, so do we agree out of all the units combined that Mississippi State's defense is the worst unit if you take Mississippi State and Ole Miss together?
Without a doubt. No doubt.
And then Ole Miss has a field goal kicker, Wonderlick.
Yeah.
And did you tell me he's a junior or a senior, Drew?
He's a junior.
It seems like he's been playing since 1999.
That's what
He started kicking like basically his first day on campus. They gave him the job.
Well, smart move. Freeze has a super field goal kicker. Maybe he should be up for the C. Spire Connor League. I would think that Ole Miss will nominate, if they haven't already, and I may have missed it, they'll nominate Evan Ingram today, right?
You would think so.
Because I thought it would be Chad Kelly, but after the pictures last week, I think whenever the Hall of Fame can stay away from somebody with some baggage, they like to, whether they're ever going to say that or not. And so I think it's going to be Evan Ingram, and he'll win it over Fred Ross.
I would take Ingram over Fred Ross.
Yeah.
Before he got hurt, he was on pace to have a 2,500 yards, or excuse me, I think for his career, 2,500 yards. I believe that's right.
Okay.
I may have messed that up. But anyway, a nice season. He was leading the SEC in receiving yards anyway, regardless of position.
He's a stud.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that's going to play. Could you imagine him in a Bill Belichick type offense with Tom Brady? You throw him opposite of Gronk, something to that effect. I mean, he's going to be a player in the
Or what
at the
about
next
Sean
level.
Payton, what he maybe could do with him? There's Dak Prescott right there. If we want to talk fun and positive, he was unbelievable yesterday. And it wasn't Zeke until later in the game. He's the one that carried that offense. Okay, LSU, that was a disaster. We'll take a break. LSU, that was Jackson's letting me know that we need to take a break. LSU was a disaster, and Charlie Strong, it's just a matter of time.
Per coachingsearch.com, they're supposed to have a press conference today. He is supposed to have a press conference. Now, don't know what that means, but this time of year when you start having press conferences,
it's not good.
it's not good.
Okay, and then Jim Mora Jr. Those could be three. Those are three great jobs. LSU, Texas, and will Jim Mora Jr. survive? He's 4-7. He got beat by 22 points by Southern Cal. And again, UCLA, you should be able to win. So we're live in the BankPlus studio. Jake Wimberly joining us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Straight ahead, the big board. We'll continue to recap the weekend. Twitter feed at Bo Bad.